Dead or Alive 6, quite surprisingly, is one of the leading games of 2019. We at Gaming Bolt loved it and awarded it a solid score of 9 out of 10. But how does the game perform on the PS4 Pro, Xbox One X, and PC platforms? Let's check that out. To begin with, both the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X versions of Dead or Alive 6 offer two graphical modes. One is the graphics mode and the other being the action mode. The PS4 Pro version renders Dead or Alive 6 in 1080p, regardless of the mode you run the game on. However, the graphics mode has better anti-aliasing and slightly better shadow quality, but overall, the differences between the two modes on the PS4 Pro is pretty minuscule. On the Xbox One X, things get a bit interesting. In action mode, the game runs at 1080p, but in graphics, the game runs in 4K resolution. So in terms of image quality, Microsoft's machine is clearly leading the race here. But what about performance? On the console front, we analyzed the game's performance by taking some sample scenes from the game and running it through TR-Drop, an open source software. Note that this tool gives us a mere demonstration of the game's performance because an exact one-to-one representation of performance can only be provided by the developers themselves, since they have access to a vast array of tools and profilers. The PS4 Pro version in both the modes runs at a steady 60 frames per second. This holds true even for the Xbox One X version where the game is running in action mode, but as soon as you switch to graphics mode, performances become uneven. The game runs in the range of 30 frames to 40 frames, making the response time for controller input quite sluggish. There is absolutely no excuse to run a fighter at anything below 60 frames per second, and the Xbox One X's graphics mode is certainly no exception to that rule. We also tested the game on PC. The developers recommend an Intel Core i7-8700 or better CPU, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060, and a shockingly high memory requirement of 16 gigabytes. On the graphical settings front, Dead or Alive 6 features a pretty bare-bones set of parameters. Besides the expected options for changing resolution and screen settings, the game offers players with only 3 other settings. These are shadow resolution for background and characters, effect equality, and object display. Dead or Alive 6 is no technical behemoth. It's a decent-looking game, but there's no excuse for providing players with such a bare-bones PC graphical setting list. Our test PC includes a GTX 1080 Ti, 16 gigabytes of GDDR4 memory, and Ryzen 1700 CPU. And as expected, we had no issues running the game at a rock-solid 60 frames per second. When compared against the PC build, it's the Xbox One X version that comes close to matching it. However, it's clear that the PC version excels with better texture filtering, anti-aliasing, and overall better shader quality when compared against both the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X version.
Get ready, fight!
As noted earlier, Dead or Alive 6 is the first major entry in the mainline series in almost 7 years. The previous game, Dead or Alive 5 Last Round, utilized the Soft engine. However, this time around, the developers are using a new in-house engine so that the series can be brought up to modern lighting standards. As mentioned earlier, Dead or Alive 6 isn't exactly a game that'll set your hardware on fire. Its adherence to physical-based lighting, for the most part, is okay, and the characters move more fluidly than they ever did before. But the engine seems like it's stuck in transition between last generation and current generation. One look at the likes of Soul Calibur 6 or the more graphically intensive Tekken 7 will show you how much Dead or Alive 6 lags behind its material shaders and hair rendering solution. However, there are some noticeable improvements in the form of particle effects, skin shaders that allow for enhanced sweat, and dirt effects along with cloth damage. So overall, Dead or Alive 6 from a gameplay perspective is a strong entry in the long-running fighting series. However, from a visual perspective, it's a bit of a mixed bag. The PC version easily trumps both of the console versions, but between the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, it's a bit hard to decide given its weird implementation of graphical settings on those consoles. The lack of a resolution higher than 1080p on PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X's unlocked frame rate and graphics mode are both noticeable issues. If you're okay with a full HD resolution on the PS4 Pro and are able to pretend that a graphics mode doesn't exist in the Xbox One X version, you can't go wrong with either platform. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, please hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to switch on the notifications bell icon next to it. That way you'll never miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching.